Okay, it's Hot 93.7, hot937.com. Another edition of Voices. All right, and for those of you who haven't been tuned in for who knows how long, Voices is the show where we highlight people who are doing positive things in the community, those people who are the unsung heroes, or those people who found that greatness within themselves and said, you know what, instead of pointing the finger at someone else, it's going to be me. So we're using this platform to highlight those local community heroes, those local people in our communities who are doing great things and, you know, setting the standard. And they may be even able to motivate you or to inspire you to do that thing that you've been sitting on the shelf for so long. You've had it sitting on the shelf and you said, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll get to it one day, or I'm too old to get started with something new, or my time has passed. No, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to do something great. And whether you know it or not, there are people watching and you never know who you're inspiring. Even if it's just one person, inspire someone today. And this young lady had sent me a number of inbox messages and I wasn't ignoring them. I saw them and I'm like, okay, I got to find a spot for her. And once again, this is someone who, if we have met, I don't know, but I had to bring her on. You know, she gave me a long, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs of what she was doing, and I said, you know what? I don't want to read about this. I want her to tell it because she can tell it better than I can. What better moment to do it than right now? Crystal Lomax is on the line. Crystal, how are you today?
I am well. I am blessed. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's all an honor to have you here. Now, let's talk about what you have going on right now and how did you come up with it?
Well, the name of my podcast is called the 90 Day Podcast. How it came about, February 2021, I was working at Curacentrics and I gotten laid off due to the pandemic. The company downsized, and unfortunately, I was one of the ones that got laid off. Mm-hmm. Instead of crying about it, I just asked God, which hat should I wear next? And he just said, you know what? What did you want to do? What did you always wanted to do? And I thought to myself, I said, I always wanted to become a podcast. I always wanted to do something in podcast. So in the beginning, I started off being a coaching manager for my son. And I'm still a coaching manager for him, but I said, okay, let me filter my plan. Let me go and do my plan, my goal. Let me work on my goal. So while I'm still coaching him, I went onto YouTube and I start reading up on podcasting, what I need to learn, what equipment I need to get me on board, and just what how I should go about presenting myself. Mm-hmm. And once I had the development of the know-how of the basic podcasting plan down, I said, okay, since we're in a pandemic, let me start with the people in my household because we couldn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So my first guest was my daughter, who is currently now in the military. But she was my first guest, and my first episode was Maddie overcoming depression. And she was my first guest, and during that time, I put everything on YouTube during that time. And it started from there. And I started working at Last Parking, and I started tracking my development. And I wanted to know how well can I go from working from an insurance company to a parking company, totally different arena. How well can I adapt? How fast can I learn? It was totally different from me. So I started tracking my progress, and within like a 1 week, 2 week to a 30-day span, and just talking about it on my podcast, and the things that I was weak in, I'll talk about it. The things that I was strong in, I'll talk about it. And again, I went on from there. And then I said, you know what, let me get more guests. Let me invite more guests. And the podcast is really about regular people, no celebrities, regular people who have a story to tell, whether it's your goals, whether it's your achievements in life, or whether you're overcoming some type of addiction, drug and addiction, or any other obstacles in life, and you wish to share, because these are our stories, these are your testimonies, and they really truly help other people.
Wow, wow. Crystal Lomax here on the line. His voices is Hot 93.7, hot937.com. 90-day podcast. So this is kind of a combination of therapy, information, all in one pot. I mean, I think what you're providing is a service that could be helping people in different ways all at the same time. So this is very innovative, and it was just something that you thought, you know what, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Now, did you have any doubts when you first got started? Did you have any fears with it? Because it seems like you jumped right in and went to the virtual university, or like I always say, YouTube, that YouTube University. I have a master's degree in YouTube University, but it seems like you jumped right in and said, you know what, I'm gonna make this happen. Let me do the research. Or did it take you a little while? Did you kind of like, this is something I want to do. I don't know if it's gonna work. Did you do that tug of war, that mental tug of war with yourself before you got started?
I was nervous. I was nervous. This is something I never done before. I was very nervous. I wasn't, I was like, do I have what it takes to become a podcast host? And sometimes we put doubt in our minds on our goals or what we can achieve. And I said, wait a minute, this is the 90-day podcast. If I want this to be the 90-day podcast, I have to prove to myself that I can do this. Whether I fail in the beginning, I have to learn how to pick myself up and reset. And it's all about resetting your goals. Reset, see where I maybe fell off at, see where I can make it better, and make it better, and go on from there. And that's what I've done. In the beginning, like I said, you work within your household because, like I said, we was in a pandemic. My clients, I like to call my guests my clients because they are my celebrities. I treat them like a celebrity. When I talk to them like they're my celebrities. And I tell them, these are your stories, and I find them on Facebook. I find stories that are passionate, that moves me, and that I think would move other people. And sometimes when I do find my guests, they'll say, "This, do you really like this?" And I say, "Yeah. I mean, I think this is very interesting. I think the world needs to know about you." So I'm happy of the guests that have been on my podcast, and the future guests that I have not aired yet. That will be on my podcast once you guys hear it. So I am so blessed. I launched my first episode, excuse me, March 10th. And March 10th is actually my birthday.
Wow.
And I wanted to do it on a day that I could really remember.
Wow.
And March 10th coming up, I think next week, next Thursday,
Yep.
is not only my birthday, but it's my 1-year anniversary for the 90 Day Podcast.
Wow. Wow. Listen, you guys, you have to understand the motivation behind this because, you know, once again, it's Voices. It's Hot 93.7, hot937.com. Big Man here. I have Crystal Lomax on the line. We're talking about her 90-day podcast, right? And this came about because she was laid off. And if you notice the trend here, I've had a number of people on the show who have gone through that adversity during this pandemic that we've been in, or that we were in, right? Where they had the layoff happening, and instead of, you know, sitting back and being angry, being upset, being scared, they said, you know what, enough is enough, all right? And some people did it out of frustration. Some people did it out of, you know, just an overwhelming belief in themselves, right? But either way, they did it, and they weren't afraid to step out. And even if they were, they said, you know what, fear, not today, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So they kept going. And what you're seeing is them having a vision for something, putting the work behind it, and not letting the naysayers, not letting the bumps in the road or anything like that stop them, right? And this is why Crystal is on the line right now, because she didn't let anything stop her. And she had a target. This is going to happen on my birthday, right? And it's already said and done. It's already said and done. Now, I mean, because you look at this, you listen to her story, right? She didn't know anything about the podcast universe, but she did her research. So when you say you don't know, to me, that's just an excuse, because this is the information age. So instead of, oh, well, nobody will tell me what to do, I'm going to tell myself, right? Because it's just a Google search away.
Yep.
And then it's one after the other after the other. And I'm sure you had some bumps in the road. I don't know if you want to talk about some of those. I'm sure you had some bumps in the road, some, you know, a trial and error here and there. But what, if any of those, what was it that kept you going, where you said, you know what, yeah, okay, that happened. Yeah, maybe this thing broke or maybe that thing broke, but I'm still not going to stop. What was it that happened, and what was it within you or within the circumstance that said, you know what, keep going forward?
It does come a time where technology is always changing. Number one, technology is always changing. In the beginning, I did have to get a lot of help. I mean, YouTube does a great job, but my son, who is also my production manager, he does all my beats. He is known as Bhutan 2X. He does all my beats. He actually educated me more on YouTube. So when I did have, like, I stayed up multiple nights just learning and struggling with the things that I could not comprehend, even though it was on YouTube. And you know how sometimes YouTube could go real fast with their demonstrations. And sometimes they can make things seem so easy, but it might be that one little thing that they might have that you just don't have. Or it could be something simple as just one chord that you're just lacking or something. Or your computer. I have a Mac computer, so Mac computers are totally different from HP. So it's just the function keys are totally different. And that was a struggle to me. My other struggle was trust, getting people to trust me, being new. No one knows Crystal in the 90 Day Podcast. So reaching out to people and having them to trust me and trust that I will take their story and be real and be authentic. That was a factor. And I appreciate the people who have believed in me and who said, okay, I'm gonna trust you with this. And trust me, I've gotten some people who said, no, I don't wanna be involved, thank you. I mean, I've gotten that too. So you take the good with the bad, but you still push forward. And not everyone will like what you do, but that's okay. I look at other podcast shows on social media, and everybody is talking about the same thing: celebrities, 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 celebrities. And I said, okay, but what about us? And you don't find too many people talking about regular people. And if they do, it's on Facebook or TikTok, and it's shaming people, or, just showing them in, not all the time, but showing them in a light where it's like, I wouldn't want to be shown like that. But yeah, so I'm like, no, I don't want a podcast like that. I want my podcast to be respectful. I want people, when they come on my podcast, I want them to feel like, yes, I wouldn't mind coming back onto your podcast because I felt that important. I felt that good.
Wow.
I felt like you really respected my vision. You respected my vision. You respected what I said. You respected me as a person. And that's what I want for someone to I want people to treat me the same way. I want them to treat my business and respect my podcast and respect me as a person, and respect my business in the same way that I respect them.
Right. Wow. Crystal Lomax here. His voice is Hot 93.7, hot937.com, Big Man. And what you did was you touched on a number of things there. You touched on market research. You touched on, overcoming the naysayers. You touched on having those doors closed in your face. You touched on losing sleep, because there's a number of things I think, and I reference this all the time. One of my mentors who a lot of people don't have a mentor from afar. And I was fortunate enough to meet this person and really have a number of conversations with him. Eric Thomas, he's known as the hip hop preacher. And his first speech that really went viral was when he said, it was known as "How Bad Do You Want It?" All right. Mm-hmm. And he said, when you want it as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. He said, most people kind of want it because a little bit of pain will make them stop. And you got to fight through that pain. Yeah. Because sometimes it could be painful when people don't see your vision. Yeah. Right? And they look at you and they're saying, oh man, Crystal's doing that crazy stuff over there. Crystal had this nice job, and yeah, they laid her off or whatever. She should have went and found another job. She talking about she want a podcast and this, that, and other. They don't get it. And they're not going to get it. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal, because a lot of times they're speaking from their own fears.
Yeah.
Right? Because they weren't courageous enough to step out and have that faith in themselves. Yeah. Since they've stayed in that quote unquote safe zone, they feel like you should stay in that safe zone as well. I'm in the safe zone. You need to be in the safe zone. Let's all be safe together. And he said, you know what? No, not me. Right. Mm-hmm. And so then comes the next question. Well, you don't even know anything about podcasting. You don't know about podcasting. What do you know about it? You're right. I don't. But I'm going to find out. And I don't care if I only sleep 2 hours a night. I'm going to do the research to find out. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's going to be expensive. You're going to have to buy this. You're going to have to buy that. You're going to have to replace this. You're going to have to replace that. Well, not only am I going to do my research on podcasting, but maybe I'll do my research on having my own company so that these expenses will become write-offs.
Mm-hmm.
See, and so you've done so much research along the way. And when you were talking about, you noticed the podcast and what they normally talk about. And everyone's talking about celebrities. And those people who are talking about the everyday person is a negative thing to talk about. What you did was you did your market research to see what was out there. And you wanted to find out what was the need. What is it that's a need out there? Something that's missing, something that's not there, something that you can add and not just get out there. Because yeah, there's a number of podcasters, but some people have found their own lanes and they've taken off. Because there's a number of lanes on the highway. You just have to be in that right lane for you.
Yeah.
And it looks like you found your lane because what you're doing is you're making the everyday person matter. You're making those everyday situations and circumstances matter, right?
Yeah.
Where some people will shrug it off. Oh man, just go get some help and you'll be all right. Why can't we have a discussion about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and that's why I said this is therapeutic, because there could be someone sitting in their living room, oh man, I feel like I'm getting depressed, but I don't know if this is depression. They hit the 90-day podcast. You might have someone on there talking about their journey through depression and what were the signs going into it and what they did to get out of it, right?
Yes.
And that person could be that healing voice that, this individual needs to hear.
Yes.
And so this is where people miss the point. I mean, you might think that your idea, oh man, yeah, but there's so many people doing that. There's so many people doing that. Look, I'm a DJ. There's tons of DJs out here. You have to find your own lane to survive. I've jumped into real estate now, right? There's tons of realtors out there. You just have to find your own lane. Don't let that, because there's millions of employees out there, but you still want to be employed by somebody.
Yes.
Right. So we have to look at it that way and understand all of us, each individual on this earth has a gift.
Yeah.
We have that greatness within us. It's all about what we do to dig that greatness out, right? And it's all about understanding that we have 24 hours in a day, just like every successful person has those 24 hours in a day.
Mm-hmm.
I often say this. I don't believe in time management. I believe in action management, because the time is there. You have the 24 hours, right? Now you have to find a way to effectively manage your actions within those 24 hours. So you have to be strategic about your actions throughout those 24 hours, because you know that the 24 hours are there.
Yeah.
So now you're managing your actions. And that's what separates those who have found their greatness from those who have not.
Yeah.
And I really like what you're doing with this, because everything that you've talked about is a need to a certain degree. I mean, we have those voices in our community that need to be heard, those voices that want to be heard. You're giving them that microphone, you're giving them that megaphone and saying, hey, talk about it.
Yes, I mean, I have people, small businesses, Jacelle and Company. She's a small business owner. I interviewed her. Not only does she owns her small business, but I interviewed her on the month of October for breast cancer awareness. Definitely listen to her story. Renetta Thomas, she was addicted to drugs. Great, phenomenal story. Definitely listen to her story. Maddie, overcoming addiction. Definitely listen to her story. Well-Trey, health, hair care. Two sisters in Connecticut own their own hair beauty salon and have their own beauty products. Definitely definitely hear their stories and hear their come up. Fantastic stories. One of my favorite, another one of my favorite, Letitia Williams and her son Noah. Definitely listen to their stories. I mean, they will brighten them too. They will brighten up your day. Very positive, very positive. I mean, if you listen to the 90 Day podcast, you will enjoy it. You will enjoy the stories. Even if you have a story to tell yourself, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear your story. You can reach me. You can contact me through email. I am on Facebook under Crystal Lomax. You can reach me on email. My email address is, I have a few, but you can definitely reach me at lomaxc20@gmail.com. That's one of my emails. I do have a blog if you want to send me a message on my blog. Gosh, what is my blog? I usually have that written down, but it's the Crystal Renee 90 Day Podcast.blogspot.com. You could definitely hit me up on my blog. Definitely just, you could Twitter me, at Crystal Hippolyte without the E at the end, HYPOLIT. Definitely, you can reach out to me. I would love to hear your stories. You are my clients. I treat you like my celebrities. I put a package deal together for you. I do my commercials. I advertise when I'm about to launch the episode, a new episode. And I love doing that. I love getting dressed up and doing a commercial shoot.
I like this.
I love doing that. I really love being creative, and it brings me joy. You know, when I'm about to promote something new. O'Shea Johnson, I believe that's her name. She was featured in the Black History Month. I did a episode on her, Deborah Crockett. She was featured in the Black History Month and also My Family History. Great episode. Multiple people had an input on how they felt about Black History Month. And that was a tough project to put together because people were afraid to speak of their Black history. And some people were really open and they knew what they were going to say, but then some people were like, I don't know what to say. I'm always used to hearing about the same thing. And I said, well, no, it's not about the same thing. I want to hear about your Black history. Your Black history.
Wow.
What have you done in life? What have you contribute in life that you can bring to the table? And I know one person in mind that I could say who really struggled with it was my mom, and she voiced her say on, if you hear the episode, she'll mention that to you. She'll say it, that she really struggled with that. It was tough for her.
You know what? And here's what you said. What you just said was very, very powerful. His voices is hot937, hot937.com. I have Crystal Lomax on the line. We'll talk about the 90 Day podcast. And this highlights the everyday person and whatever it is that they're going through, positive, negative, good, bad, even their place in history. Because what you have to understand is if you're doing anything around here, whatever business you have, whatever strides you've made in the community, you're a part of the history of that community, right? And so we don't shine a light on those people right here. You know, there's stories to tell about every bit of the history of Connecticut or this area. And if you, depending on who tells that history, right, it's going to be told a different way. It's going to be from a different experience, and it's going to have different players or different participants in that story, right? And so why not allow people the opportunity to tell their piece of it? Because imagine hearing all these stories and piecing everything together and understanding how, you know, certain events, certain things were viewed differently from different people depending on who was taking a look at it. You never know. You might have someone who saw the same thing that you saw. You know, they may have seen the same thing that you've seen, and they saw it an entirely different way.
Yeah.
They explained it. And then you're like, no, but that's not what I saw. Imagine the type of conversation that could be spawned from that and the type of interest. Imagine telling people, you know, we go, a lot of us, I know myself, for instance, my parents are from the South. So when we go, quote unquote, home, right, we hear the stories. We hear the stories from our elders and stuff like that. And they tell their stories and their history, and we're all ears. We're fascinated by these stories. Imagine you telling your story and having that same impact. Because it's not just them wanting to tell their story, but they want to hear your story as well. Don't be afraid to tell your story.
Yeah.
You know, and there's value in every single story. And the beauty about what you're doing right now is you're letting people understand how important their story is and how valuable their story is, and that their experience is not just this wasted experience or this overlooked experience, because there's people who may take interest in that. And so that's the beauty of you highlighting that everyday person, right? Because we can hear the celebrity stories all day long. We can hear stories about, yeah, man, you know, I was doing this, that, and the other, and then I got this deal and my life changed for this, that, and the other. But what about that person? They may not have changed their life to become a millionaire, but imagine that person who was down on their luck and they decided to make a decision.
Yeah.
And now they look back 5 years from now and they may say, you know what, man, at one point I was at the point where I was almost thinking about ending it all. And now I can look back on that 5 years ago. That happened 5 years ago. I could look back on that and say, wow, I'm glad I didn't do that. Imagine hearing that story. And it's so genuine from that person who you never knew went through that.
Yep.
Right? Because we could paint that picture all day long. Oh man, I'm good. I'm fine. But then imagine hearing that story. Wow, I never knew.
Yeah.
See, there's some value in that. There's some substance there. And for you to take the initiative and say, you know what? I want to highlight these stories. And not being afraid to highlight those stories and not even caring what people would say about you highlighting those stories. The courage in that is overwhelming to me. It's overwhelming.
I mean, and I am so thankful for the people who have gone on to Anchor or Spotify and YouTube, who have really taken the time out to play the episodes. I encourage more people to listen to the 90 Day podcast. I mean, while you're driving to work, and just doing the dishes, or you want something to do other than just listening to your regular everyday podcast. Listen to the everyday thing. You want something different to listen to. I encourage you to really take the time out to listen to the 90-Day Podcast. Listen to the stories of regular, everyday people. See how, listen to their testimonies and see how they changed their lives, what motivated them to change their lives. There are some fantastic stories. I appreciate everybody who really participated in the 90-Day Podcast. And I know tomorrow I do a live. I go live on Facebook tomorrow, which is March 4th at 1 o'clock. I also go live March 10th, which is on my birthday, on Facebook. So I haven't decided what time, because I have some things coming through mail. So I want to make sure I get everything before I make my my time for March 10th, before I launch my that final time. But I know tomorrow, March 4th, I go live because people haven't seen me in a while. So it's going to be fun and exciting, and that's the joy of it. You want to, with a podcast, it's easy to, right now it seems like it's, because I have so many stories built up that haven't been launched yet, because I like to record in advance. And so I said, you know what, people haven't seen me in a while, it's time for them to see me. And when they do, I want it to be fun. I want it to be exciting. So I have something planned. I can't wait. And really on my birthday, I really can't wait. So, and then on top of that, it's my 1-year anniversary for the podcast, and it's my birthday. So I can't wait. And like I said, I really encourage more people to really listen to the podcast. Be a supporter. Be a supporter. This is our platform. I don't know how many people I tell that to. I say it all the time. This is our platform. And not only that, I did make what I call as my scrapbook. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but I made like a scrapbook, and it just have my journey of where I started from, and little clips and articles. And it has stuff from like even from the beginning to the end, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I have just different articles. So, and this is another thing I like doing, making a scrapbook for my podcast. So if someone is visiting me and they wanted to learn or know a little bit more about my podcast, I'll say, here, take a look at my scrapbook.
You know what else? You could use that later on to write your own book.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, yeah, we got some. Now, you know what? Let me before we get up out of here, I want to ask you something, because you had to do your own research, right? And put together and get the materials, get all of the equipment that you needed. What was that one piece of equipment or that one thing that you needed that really surprised you, that was like outside the box and you were like, really? I need that?
Well, you know what? I would say in the beginning when I started off, I can't say it wasn't, I can't think of anything out of the ordinary, because I always, I knew I needed that, what did you put that, stretch arm? I forgot what you call it.
Oh, for the microphone?
No, not no, I knew I needed the arm, but it's a thing that you clip onto the side of the table, but it has like an arm lever where you could stretch your mic. back and forth.
Right.
So
Okay. Yep. Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like I looked at. Well, I mean, when I said I did my research and I looked at all the equipment that could be needed,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at what I had available at the time for me, and I said, okay, I'm gonna work with what I got. But there was something. I said later down the line, I realized that I needed something.
Mm-hmm.
The room that my podcast is in, it had a terrible echo. It had a terrible echo. And I don't know whether you could, I don't know if you could see my back. I put some soundproof foam behind my wall. So I know I needed that. And I did not think that I had to get that. But I ended up buying some soundproof installation to put around my wall. Now, it doesn't cover my whole wall, but it covers some certain areas of my wall.
Mm-hmm.
Later on down the line, I realized that even though that was helpful, I needed wall dividers to still help with the echo.
Mm.
And once I got that, that helped out tremendously. So, but I did not realize that until like later. And I did reach out to a friend who lives in India. Her name is Manali. And she helped me out with the Camp Cleveland interview. And when I did his episode came out so squeaky and so, oh my God, it was so distorted. And that's the time when I went to go visit my daughter in Pensacola. And I said, you know what, God, I'm not going to touch this podcast, this episode, not until I get back. I'm not going to worry about it. And you know how sometimes you get mail in your Facebook and it says, you know, if you're having problems with certain things regarding sound quality sounds, you
Mm-hmm.
go hit me up and I'll help you out. I'll do certain things for you for free. Well, Manali was one of the people who reached out to me. And I don't know why, out of all the people that I selected her, and I didn't realize that she was from India.
Mm.
And so it's a 9.5 hours difference.
Whoa.
And her and I, we worked on the soundproof, and not only did she help me out, and she helped me out so much, but she gave me an interview, so I was able to interview her, and she's on my 90-day podcast, and she educated me. And I still to this day use her notes. I still have to pull out her notes every now and then. And I still hit her up. I still say hi to her. I still reach out. I still follow her on LinkedIn. She asks me for favors every now and then. And I assist whenever I can, and because she's a great person and I truly admire her work. She loves what she do. She takes it very seriously, and she's a joy to work with. So Manali, hi from Hot 93.7. I know you probably can. I know you definitely cannot get Hot 93.7 in India, but
She could get it online. She can definitely.
But you can get it online, so I'm giving you a shout out.
But you know what? That's also a statement to the networking piece, because there's that's that unmentioned piece a lot of times, that networking is key. Building your network and understanding that you may receive some of your biggest help, your biggest push, and different things like that from people who you've never met before.
Yes.
So just imagine that. I mean, of all the people you know, someone who was able to help you out with your sound is overseas, and there's a 9.5 hour time difference, right? And you guys have stayed connected to this day, and that person still helps you out in some way, shape, or form with what you're doing. So that person is part of your success story at this point, and they poured into you without expecting anything in return.
No.
And
A genuine friend.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great thing there, because we have these networking tools, and it's just a matter of changing the way that you look at these tools. Sometimes we look at Facebook, we look at Instagram and Twitter and things like that, just as, let me see who's doing what. Let me find out what I can find out about this person or about that person. Let me see what this celebrity said. But if we just, boom, have that whole mindset shift and say, you know what? There's also people on here who can help me out business-wise. These people who can help me. I have a vision. I want to do this. Maybe I could use some of my contacts, some of the people on my friends list, and maybe there's someone out there who can assist me in some way, shape, or form. See, that's the way that we need to approach these things. And we have to look at the everyday tools that we have, the everyday resources that we have, and figure out how can we use these resources to help us achieve the goal that we're trying to achieve down the road. And you probably unknowingly, you've used these tools, you've used these resources to your advantage just because you approach them differently, right? And that's the difference in what these tools and these resources can or can't do for you. It's all about the way that you approach them. See, you can either let these resources control you, or you can control them. And you can navigate them in any way, shape, or form that you want to. You just have to be willing to do so, and you have to be willing to take the reins and say, you know what? No, we're not going to take a left. We're going to take a right this time.
Yeah.
And so, once again, for those people who want to reach out to you, they want to find out more about the 90-Day Podcast and even find out more about Crystal Lomax, they may want to connect with you. They may even want to sponsor or do something like that. How can they reach you? So how can they reach you at this time?
Okay, so if you want, again, you could look me up on Facebook. I am on Facebook under Crystal Lomax. So I am on Facebook. Also, I do have a few emails, but I do have an email, chippolite38@gmail.com. That's one of my emails. I have lomaxc20@gmail.com. That's another one. I also have my blog, which is Crystal Renee 90-Day Podcast.blogspot.com. So you can also reach me there. Also, if you listen to the podcast and if you like it, I believe you could also submit a comment. Even on YouTube, you can submit a comment and I'll get that. So there's many ways. Even on Twitter, I'm on Twitter at Crystal Hippolyte, HYPOLIT. I believe it's without. If it's with the two, that's fine. If it's not, let me just double check. Hold on one moment. I'm just gonna just double check that really quick.
The bottom line is you don't have to worry about any way, or you don't have an excuse as to why you can't find out more about the 90-Day Podcast.
Exactly.
There's multiple ways. There's multiple ways to get information.
It's so many ways. I'm on Instagram, Crystal_always rocks, and that's ROCKS. Oh yes. Okay. So let me repeat the Twitter. It's at Crystal HYPOLIT number 2. Okay. Right.
There you have it. Now, Crystal, here's the thing. What we want to do is make sure that this isn't the last time that we connect here on the airwaves. I want to get an update in the next 6 to 7 months to find out exactly where this 90-day podcast has gone. I want to, document the growth of it, and want to, at that time, because I'm sure you'll have some more notes, so you'll be ready to write a book. And at that time, I'm going to connect you. I'm going to connect you with some people who've been on the show already, and they've written books. And see, this is going to be a connection thing. We're going to have people connected who are doing different things from multiple walks of life. And so, I want to keep to my word on that. So let's stay connected. And I want to thank you for taking the time out and reaching out to me and being diligent about it. Because when you were reaching out to me, I had so many things going on. I'm like, okay, I got to get back to it. And you sent me another message, and I said, now. I stopped everything and I got right back to you. And so I thank you for not giving up and continuing to reach out to me, because I feel like you've inspired somebody today on these airwaves, right? And I feel like you'll continue to inspire people. So I don't want you to stop doing what you're doing. Don't get discouraged, and make sure you check back in with me periodically. Keep me informed with what's going on, so that we can stay connected, and we'll get you back on these airwaves very soon.
Good. I love it. All right. And I just wanted to say, y'all watch me tomorrow, March 4th at 1 o'clock. Live on Facebook.
Yes. It's Hot 93.7. Keep it right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.